In this video, we're going to talk about how to win a political campaign. And I got some things to tell you that may surprise you. You're not going to find in a book or on Google. The steps that you need to take if you want to win an election, what you must do, how you do it. Stick with me because I got a lot to share. Here are two essentials of success in politics in winning a political campaign. Number one, you need a compelling message. Number two, you have to figure out a way to disseminate that message in advertising. If you have a compelling message and you do a good job of disseminating that message, you win an election. If either one of those is flawed, you will not. We're going to spend the bulk of our time on those two because they're critically important to your success. And we're going to start with the elements of that campaign message. I'm going to do an experiment here. I'm a voter and pretend that I'm talking to you, and I'm going to ask you the questions that voters will expect you to answer during the course of your campaign. Number one, what makes you qualified? Number two, what are your notions of right and wrong and good and evil? How do I know your values are in sync with mine? Number three, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for my family? What are you going to do for our community or our state? What are you going to do with the job if you get it? Number four, how do I know I can trust you? How do I know that you are going to do what you promise you're going to do when I'm not looking? Number five, what makes you better than that person running against you? That's your campaign message. It's coming up with the answers to that question. Now, let me add a little filler here. I didn't say that they went in that order. I just told you the elements of your campaign message. But first and foremost is I got to say that what you're going to do for the voters is probably the most important piece of your campaign message. That's where you talk about how you're going to use the power that you are asking voters to give you, how you're going to improve their quality of life, how you're going to make it easier to get a job, or how you're going to give a certain section of your electorate a hand up that needs it. Perhaps you're going to keep their taxes down or put more money in their pocket. How you're going to increase their wages, how you might be increasing the number of jobs in your community. The world is your oyster here. You can talk about anything you want to talk about, things that you're going to do, but it really should be relevant to the voters that you're appealing to because they will expect it to be, and that's your confining thing there. The second thing is, I mentioned that one of the questions is, what makes you qualified? Well, basically, they don't need to know your whole resume. They don't need to know every place you've ever lived and every ribbon you've ever won and every trophy on your shelf. Just enough to know that, yeah, you got your feet on the ground, that you're smart enough to make judgments on their behalf, that you're capable of doing the job, and kind of this way, that you're not some clown or kook who's just running to get a paycheck or to get your mug on TV, because frankly, they're very sick of politicians like that. And that's why you tell them a little bit about your resume. What's it mean to talk about your moral code? Okay, we weren't born with a value set, but we acquire one. To voters does the same thing that disgusts me, disgust you? Do you, say if you lived in a church or a community where lots of people go to church, you might want to talk about your church that says your values are in sync with theirs. If you care about poor people and people in your community also care about poor people, you might want to bring up the community organizations and civic organizations you've served. That lets them know your values are in sync with theirs. If you believe young children deserve a better education, maybe taking a picture of you on a couch reading to two young children says something about your values to them. If you care passionately about veterans, maybe a picture of you serving food to veterans who need some help says something about your moral code. It's incumbent upon you to communicate that to voters so they know kind of what grounds you. I mentioned that one of the questions they would have is, how do I know I can trust you? Now, that question is often answered when candidates tell a story about why they're really doing this, the why. And if you're thinking about running for office, I already know something about you that you may not know about yourself. Something in your life profoundly affected you and planted a political seed in you that is now germinating. You may not know that, but I know that because I know you're watching a video for this video for that reason. Here's what happened at some point in your life. Something you saw, something you heard, something you experienced planted that seed inside of you. It may have been witnessing an injustice. It may have been some act of cruelty that really infuriated you. Something gelled at this. It is now germinating, and you seek the power to fix the problem. But what problem is that? Can you talk about that problem and how having the power of the office would help you fix that problem? If you tell a story like that correctly, the voters will never doubt your motivation for running. I also mentioned something in this message about why you, not them. This is one of the things that voters really do appreciate. You don't have to be nasty about how you do it. But at the end of the day, you're going to have differences with the person running against you. Tell voters what they get from you that they're never going to get from your opponent. Tell voters the things that you're going to fight for that your opponent won't. Tell things that voters are going to get that will improve their quality of life that are not even important to the person you're running against. That's what we call white you, not them. And at the end of a campaign, it needs to be part of your campaign message. All right, second major question is how do you advertise that message? Well, there are some that don't cost any money. Isn't that the good news? Depending on the size of your jurisdiction, you may be living in a jurisdiction where you can win an election with fewer than 3,000 votes. Well, the easiest way to advertise your message is print yourself a little handout or a palm card and go knock on doors. And engage the people in your jurisdiction in one-on-one conversations. That is the most effective advertising you can do. And by the way, when you get home at night after you've had a nice conversation with 20 people, make sure you sit down and write them a handwritten note, thank them for the time they spent talking to you, and make sure that you give them their cell phone number. If you do that sort of thing, they'll vote for you. That's the easy way. And you do that in small jurisdictions, and there's no amount of advertising in small jurisdictions any better than that. The trouble is, most people, when they run for office, they don't have time to knock on more than 2,000 doors. They say they do, but at the end of the day, no, they don't, because candidates have other things to do other than knock on doors. So this is where we get into ways to disseminate your message using the power of media, the internet, cable. So, starting with, you can make yourself pretty well visible with 2 or 3 posts a day on Facebook. The same thing on Instagram. You can occasionally, if you got younger voters and you need to reach them with TikTok, that's a way to do it. You can reach a lot of people with YouTube videos. You can, in fact, have an impact with some people by what you post on LinkedIn, of all things, because those people are pretty well connected if they live in your jurisdiction. However, I say that's organic. There's certain advertising in a political campaign, you're going to have to bite the bullet and you're going to have to pay for it. YouTube and Facebook make it possible for you to advertise. It's cheap, it's efficient, it's one of the greatest ways to put your mug, your face, your brand, your message, your slogan in front of the people who really should be seeing it. So I would recommend that to almost all campaigns because it's the most efficient form of political advertising available. Certainly there are others. It's called digital advertising. There are people who use text messages and emails to spread their message. They send it out there. They put a link in a text message or an email that leads people to their website, and they put a video on their website so people see it. After that, we're getting into things that may begin to cost real money. In some jurisdictions, radio is still commonly used, especially surrounding certain talk shows that go on, especially in rural America. There is the kind of the universal thing, persuasion mail, which more candidates spend more on persuasion mail than almost any other means of communicating, because you can precisely target that mail to particular households, and frankly, with pictures and a few words, you can say a lot on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Finally, there is television. There are 4 kinds of television: over the top, connected TV, cable television, and commercial television. All of them very effective forms of advertising that have a great impact. But I must mention one other thing. You can fine-tune a perfect advertising plan to disseminate that campaign message that you've constructed. If you don't have the money to do it, you're back to square one. So we must talk about money. It is a necessary ingredient of any political campaign that you want to win. Even if you're just doing it with volunteers, you know it's pretty nasty to send them out in the hot sun and knock on doors all day for you, and they come back to headquarters and you just say, well, thank you for coming by. We'll see you tomorrow. Can't you at least go buy them pizza and some soda? Can't you at least celebrate what they did that day with something that benefits them? Treat them well. Now, guess what? If you treat them that way, they're not coming back tomorrow. They won't come back at all. So, yeah, the pizza costs money unless you want to pay for it out of your own pocket. The point I'm making is there are good uses of money in a political campaign. Don't consider it evil. Get active in raising some of it. So, where are the pieces or places that people go to raise money in politics? Well, the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest money you're going to raise, are from people who already know you and like you and consider you a friend, maybe even family and relatives. And you want to find all of those people that you're connected to? Well, take out your iPhone and start thumbing through your contact list and look who's jot down the names of people who are capable of giving you a check or volunteering your campaign. And after you've done that, go to your Facebook account and start looking at your Facebook friends. Pretty much guaranteed you're going to find someone in your Facebook friends that you forgot you knew, that may have been your best bud 10 years ago. You've just lost touch. So the third place I'm going to suggest you look is LinkedIn, because over time, if we started LinkedIn accounts a few years ago when it first came out, kind of shocking a number of connections that we've accumulated through the years. And some of those people may be very familiar to you and capable of giving you money. So those are places to start. Now, there are 6 other ways to raise money, and I'll just name them off here. There's what we call surrogate fundraising. There is direct mail fundraising. There are cocktail parties. There are dinner parties that are what we call large and celebrity events. All of them used to raise money in political campaigns. I must also add this, and I kind of saved the most important part to last here. Especially if you're running for the first time, get some help. Do not try and do this on your own. It doesn't mean that you're stupid, that you have to reach out for someone to help. Here's what it is. There are people in this world that do political campaigns day in and day out, year after year. They are up to date on the techniques and the capabilities of technology. They know the essence of a campaign message. They already know where to look for relevant data when it comes to figuring out how to advertising the message. And you know what? You're far better off paying them some money and telling you what's best for you than you are trying to figure out how you learn all of that on your own. You can't. All right, so here's what I say, find some help. There are certain things only you can do in a political campaign. Only you can give the speech to the Rotary Club. Only you can be on stage during the debate. Only you can do the newspaper, or the radio, or the TV interview. Only you can show up at the parties where you are the guest of honor. You can't send staff to do that. And you know what? Being the best that you can be at those things is usually a full-time job when you mix in the fact that you also may have family that you have to deal with, that you have spiritual needs that you need to attend to in church on Sunday, that you've got other private things you need to do in your life, doing those things that only you can do to perfection should be the focus of your attention. Why do you get help? Is so that you can delegate other tasks to people who already know how to do them well, so you can concentrate on being a good candidate. So look for somebody who's done it before. It's okay to use a political consultant. If you run out of options on those first two, you are free to be in touch with me. Every week I set aside time to talk to people who are running for office that have a question or wanted to discuss. It is not a sales pitch, and the call is free. If you struck out on finding someone to help you, you'll find the link to be in touch with me underneath this video. So there's another thing that I want to draw your attention to. It's also free. So I've raised a lot of money through the years for candidates in what's been probably about a 45-year career and 400 different campaigns. And a lot of them I've helped raise money, and a lot of them I've watched how it's done. And I put that in a video that's devoted solely to how you raise money in a political campaign. Everything I mentioned in this, except we do a deep dive on all the methods that you can use to raise it. If you're interested in running for office and want to win an election, you should do that right now.